Larry, what was your first master? When we look at what you have done from the scratch, we think this idea come from something. So from where?
Well, it definitely didn't come from my first master. It came from my absolute desire to do something that was never done before, and but that was also the premise of my first master, which was you should do things that have never been done before. And so his name was Billy Al Bankston. Is Billy Al Bankston. He's very much alive and very active in his studio in Los Angeles.
And what was he doing?
Painting.
So you went on a very different direction, right?
Well, I started out as a painter, and then the painting suggested 3 dimensions, and so instead of making pictures of volumes, I decided to make volumes, and then I became a sculptor. Just that was the transition. And
but I think that for you the raw material is light, right?
Yeah.
So where does the idea came from? It was very new.
Well, I don't know if I can answer that. The idea comes from looking at things. The light that comes off of the surface is my media. And the opportunity to make things more interesting or more enigmatic or more mysterious is simply by an adjustment in the way something reflects, or the way something transmits, or the way something absorbs light. The glass is a very interesting material to me because it reflects, transmits, and absorbs light all at the same time. And so it's possible to alter those activities that the glass can do, but not change the glass. And so I work with materials that coat things, put a layer of metal or something onto the various materials, and it changes the way the light comes off. I work with paper also, which the compositions are spontaneous kinds of collages, and they're all made with from the light that comes off of the surface of different papers and mylar and other things, all sandwiched together to make a collage.
But it's interesting, after all, to think that finally light is the raw material and the subject.
Yes.
It's everything, almost.
Yeah.
How was LA in the 60s for a young artist?
Well, LA itself wasn't much of an interesting place, but Venice Beach was great fun. And Venice Beach is a tiny place in Los Angeles. And it was always a very radical and crazy place, and very dangerous for a long time.
Dangerous?
Very dangerous, very dangerous. With gangs and drugs and just bad stuff happening. But even saying that, I must say that I only had one experience that made me very sad, because somebody that I worked with was found dead on the sand from being strangled, and so it was a kind of place where you didn't, after a certain hour, you didn't want to be out.
And how was it fun?
What?
You said it was fun too.
Fun?
Venice Beach was fun, right?
Fun, yeah.
Yes, but how?
Well, it was empty. There was nobody around, and you could go to the ocean and you'd have a whole beach. Nobody came down there because it was too dangerous.
But what about the community of artists?
There wasn't a community of artists. There was a few people that went there because of studios. There was no commercial value to Venice. It was too dangerous to have a shop in Venice. So every shop was empty. And so there was a lot of places that an artist could rent for a studio for very little money. And that's what they did.
But you had some artist friend, did you?
Yeah, they all lived there.
Yes. Okay.
For the same reason.
But there was no community?
What?
No community? There was not a special spirit on that time in LA?
Well, amongst a group of people, a certain group, not the entire group of people that came down. Many artists came there. I didn't know most of them. I knew a few people. And
who were your friends?
Robert Irwin, Ken Price, Ed Moses, Craig Kaufman, Billy Bankston, but not all of those people lived in Venice. They lived nearby Venice. Ed Moses, in the neighborhood.
You are presented as a minimal artist, but there's a piece at ICA showing a rainbow which make appear a beautiful lady. This is not minimal at all.
No. I never thought of myself as a minimalist. That people like to put you in a place so they can describe you as part of a movement, I never thought of myself as a minimalist. And neither did Donald Judd, who was a good friend of mine in New York, He didn't think he was a minimalist. And I didn't either. There were too many other aspects to the work that had nothing to do with a minimal place.
It's boring.
Boring, yeah.
And so suddenly appears a beautiful lady in the rainbow. This is very poetic, right?
It's what?
Poetic.
Yeah, well, that's nice. Thank you very much.
What is your next dream?
My next dream? Well, I'm looking forward to just going home after the festivities of this event here and starting new work. We're planning an expansion of the studio and acquisition of some equipment to facilitate doing larger glass pieces easier. And I'm not so young anymore, so the time factor is at hand. You have to decide how much you can do and keep active. If you plan to do too much, you will be exhausted before you get anything done.
Yes.
And so I'm trying to make it easy on myself to do these other things.
There's a lot of people working with you?
I have 5. But that's going to double very shortly because we're going to expand the studio and the activities of the studio are going to require more people to help me. And
so that's a dream?
Well, it's more of a nightmare than a dream. But that's I didn't mean that. It's not a nightmare at all. It's wonderful to have the option to be able to do that. I can plan anything I want. It's great.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting. What would you like people to remember about you?
I never think about things like that.
And spontaneously, what would you say?
What's that?
Spontaneously, what would you answer?
Well, it's just that the work I did is honest. It didn't come from any place other than me. If I can feel that, I feel good, you know.
Merci, monsieur.
You